Welcome to Gamecock Pod Live.
For the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be committed to the University of Gamecock.
This is Rodgers again to the 25, 20, 15, 10. Rodgers scores!
Jackie Bradley Jr. delivers for the Gamecocks.
Lost it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
And South Carolina is sending shockwaves through the SEC.
Frederick lays it in at the buzzer. That's a win! Unbelievable! I don't believe it!
And now, live from Studio 54 of the Gamecock Pod Studios, here's the Cockfather himself, Keith Alsep.
All right, everybody, welcome into Gamecock Pod Live for Wednesday, September 20th, episode number 1308 of Gamecock Pod Live and Gamecock Pod Daily. Coming to you from a different locale today, as you can tell, live from a hotel still in Charlotte. Was unable to make it to Georgetown due to them being out of rental cars at the Charlotte airport. It was a trains, planes, and automobiles day for sure. But I will be in Charleston tonight as I secured my rental car this morning at the Saltwater Cowboys at 6:30, repping Carolina Rise. All right, in just a few minutes, we will be joined by the 2023 South Carolina Sportscaster of the Year, WLTX's own, and South Carolina J-School graduate, Chandler Mack. But first, let's get into your Nana's Porch news, notes, and headlines brought to you by Nana's Porch full-service catering company servicing the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area. Whatever your catering needs may be, whether it is a banquet, a wedding, a full backyard bash with the whole hog barbecue, or maybe you want to bring in a food truck. Nana's Porch voted among the top 3 among food trailers in the Charlotte area. And as we all know, they have the award-winning pimento cheese. So the Gamecock women's basketball schedule is complete. The non-con was the holdup. No Stanford, no Charleston Southern this year. Don't know why. But as we know, Gamecocks open in Paris against Notre Dame on November 6th. Some of the home games, Maryland, November 12th. And then Clemson, UConn, Tennessee, Gamecocks not only face Notre Dame in Paris, they face Utah at the Mohegan Sun Arena in the Hall of Fame Classic. That will be December the 10th. They are at North Carolina and at Duke on November 30th and December 3rd. Also at LSU and at Tennessee. They will face UConn. That's the only non-con during the season. And then Tennessee as well. All right. Track coach Tim Hall has announced the hiring of one of his former sprinters at Tennessee, Felicia Brown Edwards. She was a 10-time All-America for the Vols, and she is joining the staff to work with the Sprinters. A tremendous hire for head coach Tim Hall. Also, as we all know, this Saturday night, Alshon Jeffrey's jersey will be retired. Not his number, just his jersey. Shane Beamer talked at length about that yesterday in his press conference. Shane Beamer also talked about, a lot of storylines with Mississippi State. That was his first job in the SEC with Sylvester Croom. Ellis Johnson was on that staff, as well as some of those other guys, Jody Wright, and also Freddie Kitchens. All right, Shane Beamer yesterday talked about Curing Kids Cancer Week. He was wearing his T-shirt. Can't stress enough how important of a cause this is. Cancer, we're hoping for the cure, but especially for children. No child should have to go through that dreaded disease. So I would encourage everyone as a father to support Curing Kids Cancer. That is a very worthwhile cause. All right, Shane Beamer also talked about how to fix the run game. Number one, South Carolina under Dow Loggins running a lot of RPOs. When the box is not favorable for a run, Rattler is pulling it and throwing it, which he should. But he said you got to call runs and then run the ball. So when you do have the favorable box, you got to run the football. Number two, you got to have more consistency on the offensive line. I think that starts by bringing in Trevon Ball at guard and playing Ja'Kai Moore at right tackle. Okay, Tyshawn Wanamaker is clearly not strong enough or big enough like he has been because of the weight loss. Sidney Fugar has not been good at all. I think you go with Big Tree Babalade at left tackle, Nick Gargiulo at left guard, Vershawn Lee at center, Trevon Ball at right guard, and Ja'Kai Moore at right tackle. And then Beamer talked about staying ahead of the sticks. You can't have 1st and 10 and then be 1st and 15 because a wide receiver or an offensive lineman had a false start penalty. You just can't do it. You've got to stay ahead of the sticks. You got to make positive yards on first downs. You need to be in second to medium and short and third and short to be able to run the ball. Okay, you can't have the false starts. You can't have negative plays. And then somebody's got to make a play. Okay, run through contact, make somebody miss, break a tackle. Okay, that's not a novel concept. We've seen a lot of Gamecock running backs do that. I still think this is the week you got to get Mario Anderson more involved, and to some extent, perhaps DJ Braswell. DeCarrion Joyner is an integral part of this team. You got to get him going as well. But the primary thing is you got to make plays in the run game. I don't care who it is. When Spencer Rattler's your leading rusher at quarterback, you are in trouble. Shane Beamer also mentioned injuries. Now you've got 3 offensive linemen out for the year. Jalen Nichols, I think Casey Henry's out for the year. Marquis Anderson, who Shane Beamer said was going to be back. Season-ending surgery, so he's out. That's 3 guys you were counting on this year, potentially 2 starting tackles, and then one of your top reserves on the interior. Juice Wells is out this week. He saw a specialist yesterday. Shane Beamer talked about that, said it's not a negative thing. I think you shut him down until the Florida game. As much as you need him at Tennessee, you need him the back half of the year to get through October and into November, where you do not leave the friendly confines of Williams-Brice Stadium. Amarian Brown limited. I think he's questionable. JT Gear still questionable. Didn't do a whole lot. Looking forward to hearing Shane Beamer what he says on Thursday night. Because last week on Thursday, he said David Spalding and Nick Emanwari would play, and they did play. All right. Let's see if we can bring in Chandler Mack. There he is.
Hey, what's going on, Keith?
Hey, let's welcome in for the first time to the Gamecock Pod family. Brother, we're so excited to have you in. A J School graduate of the University of South Carolina. That was my major when I first went to South Carolina. And 2023 Sportscaster of the Year. So fortunate to have you at WLTX. I grew up when I was in school. Bob Shields manned that desk. He was an icon in Columbia, along with the venerable Rick Henry, who's still going strong. And so welcome in, Chandler. How you been, brother? What's going on?
Oh, good, Keith. Yeah, can't complain. I actually got the day off today, so it's like the first day off I've had in a while. Well, I had one day off last week, so we actually had we did a Georgia special on the Georgia game because it was on our air. So yeah, that took up a lot of our time, and then obviously did a special on the start of the season. Then we had the home opener, so it's been busy, and we still got to cover high school football and all the other sports going on. So it's definitely been a busy time, but this is what we signed up for. I love every second of it. Like you mentioned, I'm a J School grad at the University of South Carolina, so I grew up watching the Gamecocks and all of that. So this is truly living a dream. So it is all good. Everything good with you?
Well, I had a planes, trains, and automobile day from hell yesterday, but
yeah,
it's a lot better today, and so that's all I've got to say about that.
Fantastic. That's all that matters, man.
So the Gamecocks are 1-2 on the year. Spencer Rattler has been on fire. The defense has not been on fire. Xavier Leggett may be the best wide receiver in college football, and Juice Wells is injured. A lot of stuff we thought would happen, a lot of stuff we did not have any idea would happen. Your thoughts on the season thus far?
Yeah, so Keith, I feel like the Gamecocks are about where you may have expected them to be at this point, right? I think we all hope that they would be 2-1 right now. Hope they would beat North Carolina in week 1. Figured, okay, yeah, you're going to come back when your home opener against Furman, but you're going to have to go to the road in Athens. Haven't won there since 2019. That's probably going to be a little tough to win. So you thought, okay, maybe they could be 2-1, but when you sat down and thought about, okay, well, North Carolina is a top 25 team. They do have Drake May. It is at a neutral site, even though I was there, Keith, by 80-20, right? Gamecock fans.
As was I.
Exactly. Yeah. It was about, so you could attest. It was basically a Gamecock home game, but still not the easiest week 1 matchup. Definitely wasn't Georgia State or Eastern Illinois. I can tell you that. So thinking about that, with that being said, 1-2 is about where you may have thought they would be, especially when you consider, you mentioned it, Juice not being 100% full go. Spencer Rattler playing absolutely out of his mind. Dude ranks 3rd in the conference, and I think passing yards right now, and it's like 3rd, like top 3 in completions as well. He's absolutely playing phenomenal ball, but when you don't have a running game, and Keith, that was the biggest question mark that I had about this team, when you're basically telling your quarterback / wide receiver / kick returner / punt returner into Kerryon Jordan. Hey, bro, we need you to be the starting running back. We know you haven't played running back since B-team high school football, but let's see what you can do. That kind of told me, yeah, it might either DK's really tearing it up in practice or, hey, you might have some question marks at that RB spot. And now we're seeing it, right? The team only has, I think, 159 rushing yards in 3 games. And, Keith, that's just not going to get it done in big boy SEC football. So they got to definitely get that going. But I'm confident they will. This is a team that started 1-2 last year, and then they ultimately won 7 of their last 10. And including those victories against Tennessee and Clemson to end the year. And they put up a pretty good fight against Notre Dame in the Gator Bowl. They just ultimately came up short because a lot of guys were playing in that game that hadn't seen action continuously throughout the season. So they, were a little gassed by the time the game ended. But I'm confident. I'm really confident. Talk to the players this week, then talk to the players after the Georgia game. They feel good. None of them had their heads down like, oh man, we're 1-2. They're like, yo, let's go. Let's really finish this thing strong. So like I said, playing about where I thought they would be, not necessarily where I hoped they would be, but exactly kind of where I thought they would be 3 games in. And now you got that get back game against Mississippi State. Got to win it, period.
No doubt. So you brought up the less than stellar ground game. South Carolina currently ranks 138th out of 140 FBS teams in rushing yards. That is not where you want to be, for sure. And so I want to get your thoughts on this. So what about more Mario Anderson, more DJ Braswell? Look, I love Shane Beamer and I love 99% of the stuff he does, but when it comes to injury reports, I don't trust him as far as I could throw Big Tree Babalade, which is not very far. Not far at all.
Yeah.
That is a big dude. I can't pick him up and throw him. Sorry.
Exactly. Now I saw him yesterday, like in person without pads. It was just like, yeah, man, that's a big boy. He's only like 18, man. Like, what the world? But yeah, gotta love that about Shane, right? That's the thing I've noticed like over the last 3 years. Like anytime he says a guy is questionable, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, that guy's not playing. And yeah, you just gotta. Yeah, that's kind of.
Or even when he don't say anything, like Tyreek Johnson didn't say a word about him all week. Dude's not even dressed out.
Exactly, and that's the thing too, Keith. That's like the little secret that I've learned too. It's like, okay, if he doesn't say anything about a guy, that probably means he's not good. Even though he'll say in the presser, he'll be like, yeah, everybody's pretty much good. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, he didn't like single out this guy, so that might mean that something's not right. So yeah, yesterday when he was going to talk about Juice, I was like, all right, well, let me see if he's gonna say anything about Juice. If he doesn't say anything about Juice, probably means Juice is going to be out for a while. Thankfully, he did give a Juice update, and yeah, I think you said it earlier in the pod. You feeling like the Florida game is probably when he could come back, and I agree. I say definitely he's out this week, and I wouldn't try to rush him back for the Tennessee game. I would wait until after the bye, and then get him back, and then he's back at Willie B, all that good stuff. But yeah, back to the run game. Yeah, I think you definitely got to put a guy like Mario Anderson in there. I mean, that's a guy who broke records at Newberry last year, albeit on the Division II level. I think he can come in because the thing is, the Kerryon, you mentioned it, the Kerryon's great. Where the exact epitome of what you want a college athlete to be on and off the field. But the reality is, again, he hasn't played running back since he was in B-team football, right? Back in high school. It was almost 10 years ago. So bringing in a guy and that has experience running the ball, taking those hits in between the tackles like a Mario Anderson. I mean, we saw it on I think it was in the first quarter. He had a really good first down run against Georgia where you saw him just driving his feet. I mean, those are just things that he just naturally knows. It's an easy thing for him. And he's a bigger dude. He has a lower center of gravity as well. So, yeah, I think putting him in will definitely help. And then putting in a guy like DJ Braswell will help as well, just to another guy who knows the running back position. I think that would definitely be beneficial for them. I think they also got to find a way to get Juju McDowell involved as well. Maybe not necessarily running the ball, but just throwing the little flat passes to him, throwing the little option passes to him. I think that's something they got to incorporate. We didn't see enough of that against Georgia. I mean, I'm trying to think. If Juju was in, it was definitely less than 15 snaps, and he's a guy that can do great things with the football as we've seen over the last 2 years.
I mean, I completely agree, and I think to me he's always been more of a slot receiver, right? Because of his size, he catches the ball extremely well. I think if Amarian Brown, who's questionable with a hamstring, which, as we know, those things take time, right?
Yeah.
I like Luke Doty. He's a playmaker. He blocks. He's bigger. When you have him and DK and Rattler on the field, you have 3 quarterbacks. That opens up a myriad of options, as we saw Furman do, like on the second play of the game against South Carolina. They caught him with the okie doke on the double pass.
Yeah.
I love him, but at the same time, Juju McDowell in the slot can be very dangerous because he's one of the only guys that, particularly, that's not a true wide receiver, that's not a Juice Wells, that can make guys miss in the open field and make yards after the catch when he gets the ball in space. That's one of his strengths. So I'm really hoping to see a little bit of that as well. Yeah. And then I want your thoughts with Juice Wells out. Omega Blake is stepping up.
Yes.
But Nicholas Harbor, 10-2 speed, and that cat Tyshawn Russell, these younger guys, I think you got to continue to bring them along as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, for sure. I 100% agree with you. Nick, just seeing him, he's another one. We were talking about Tree earlier. It's just like you look at him like, man, dude, what did you eat growing up? My goodness. Like already like 245, but you look at it, it's muscle, straight muscle, right? And it's tall. And yeah, I think you definitely got to get him involved more. Now, I will say, if he's not on the field, we have to understand, one, he is a freshman. Two, he came in the summertime, right? He didn't come in the springtime and in the winter like Lenore's did and like Pup Howard did. We'll probably get to the defense in a little bit. But yeah, those guys came in earlier, so they're going to be up to speed a little bit more. Nick came in the summertime, and then also he dealt with injuries during the summer as well, during fall camp as well. So he's not only working his way into game shape, he's also trying to learn the playbook, all of that. So, but like you mentioned, I'm sure, hey, you could probably just tell him, hey, Nick, just run straight down the field, and like we'll just throw you the ball. Like, I think, yeah, that's not really that complicated, right? So I think you definitely got to incorporate him in there. We saw what Tyshawn did with Lenore in the Furman game, literally just one dime. Absolute dime by Lenore. I mean, that kid is going to be a star, and we kind of knew that when he was at South Florence and what he did in Class 4A last year. My goodness. But, yeah, Tyshawn got to get him in the game as well, especially, like you mentioned, with AB out, with Juice out. Yes, Zay is playing phenomenal football right now, but Shane kind of alluded to it in his presser yesterday. Hey, we can't give X the ball every single play. Like, we got to find a way to get these other guys involved. And yeah, I think incorporating guys like Nick and Tyshawn could definitely help this offense grow. Also Josh Simon too, and a little bit more of Trey Knox. We saw a little bit of Trey getting the ball in the UGA game. He did have that big drop across the middle. But I blame him for that, but it was like, at that time, it was the craziest thing, Keith. At that time, it was a downpour in Athens, and then literally, as soon as Georgia got the ball back, all the rain stopped. I was like, all right, well, that is just that type of half right now. But yeah, so I think, incorporating the tight ends as well. But like you mentioned, yeah, incorporating Nick and Tyshawn will definitely help. And hopefully this is the week that you're able to do that. You may not be in as tight of a game and as tight of a pinch. Hopefully you'll be able to get a decent lead against Mississippi State and bring in some of those younger guys.
So the Gamecocks were 27.5-point underdogs to Georgia. I took the points. I was at the Austin watch party because my power went out. I'm a high school official. I didn't get home till 12:30 a.m. from my high school game. Didn't get into bed till 1:30. As soon as I finished breakfast and laundry, the power went out, and I'm like, I got to see this game. Mm-hmm. And then it starts getting crunch time. Is the power coming back on, or am I getting ready and going downtown to the Pop Bar on 6th Street? And the answer was yes. I was expecting 15 people. It was nuts. There were over 100 raucous Gamecocks out there. Gamecocks, Dowell Loggins, man, dialing them up on the first drive. Spencer Rattler, 8 for 8. Third and 16 from XL number 1 just absolutely beasted a dude that's supposed to be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And then they run the same play they ran against Kentucky last year for the long touchdown. Fake one way, come back to the right. Juice Wells on 3rd and 16 from the 17-yard line. Juice Wells looks electric. Gets that foot stepped on and hobbles off, and we never see him again. But Chandler, it's 14-3 at halftime. What were you thinking at that point in time?
Keith, I literally said it to a lot of people. I was like, wow, we're seeing that Georgia's human. You know, like they're human beings just like all of us. Like we thought there was just this insurmountable opponent, this team that just cannot be beat because no one's beat them. Right? I mean, you got to go back all the way to the 2021 season and the SEC championship game against Alabama to see the last time they've been beat or the last time they've looked beatable, right? But nah, man, I was shocked. But I was shocked, but then I kind of wasn't because, again, they were 27.5 point. The Gamecocks were 27.5 point underdogs. I thought that was absolutely disrespectful considering, hey, Georgia did lose a lot of guys to the draft. Carson Beck, we have to wait and see if he's going to be Stetson Bennett, right? And to be honest, Keith, he looked good. He didn't look great, right? And even ultimately what happened in the second half was Georgia leaned on the run game. They had 119 of their 189 rushing yards all in the second half. They just kind of wore the Gamecocks down. Carson, he did make a couple of good throws, but it wasn't like he really wowed you with what he did. But yeah, back to that first half, I was just like, man, okay, now just can you sustain it? Because obviously, when you look at Georgia, think about that defensive staff. Kirby's obviously got his hands on everything, and then Will Muschamp, a guy we know pretty well. Head coach, we can question, right? But we can never question Will Muschamp's defensive expertise. You just can't question that, man. So you knew he was going to come back with a lot of adjustments. And that's exactly what they did. And my thing was just, can the Gamecocks will they be able to handle those adjustments? And unfortunately, yeah, we saw it was tough for them. I mean, Spencer, you mentioned he started 8 for 8, 16 for 18 for the entire first half, over 150 passing yards, that touchdown to Juice. Second half, things changed. Now, most of it wasn't his fault. He was 6 for 24, got sacked a whole lot, got pressured a whole lot more. He threw the 2 interceptions. I'm not really going to point out the interceptions because that was at the end of the game. Man's trying to make a play. In fact, I give credit to Spencer because a lot of quarterbacks would have been like, you know what? I'm probably going to go to the draft. I'm not going to try to throw this pass that I think might get intercepted. I'm just going to take this sack because I don't want to mess up my stats. Spencer was like, nah, I want to win the game still. We still got a chance. So props to Spencer for that. But yeah, man, it was that first half was nice. That first half was nice. It was I think when DK scored that touchdown, you could hear me on my shot. Like I'm like, yo, push him. He's in. Like as soon as DK extended. So yeah, I was feeling good. But then yeah, that second half happened and yeah, Georgia became Georgia again.
Yeah, so I mean, Gamecocks only ran 9 plays in the third quarter. Rattler actually 19 for 24 going into the fourth quarter. Then the 3 for 19. South Carolina's defense could not get Georgia off the field. The one time they did, South Carolina's making a drive. They're in scoring range. It's 3rd and 7. Rattler can't take that sack. You got to give yourself a chance because it was 17-14 at that point. Georgia had missed a field goal. I guarantee you every Gamecock fan in the world would have said, hey, if it's 17-14 in the fourth quarter and we got the ball at the 25-yard line with Spencer Rattler the way he's playing, if you knew he was 19 for 24 and had just been on fire, everybody would have taken that. Carolina, Georgia just kept sending the house, and DeCarian does a great job of blitz pickup, but he can't take that sack.
Yeah.
Because you got to have a chance to either go for it on 4th down or kick the field goal and tie the game, get some momentum, and then force them to beat you while you have momentum. That was just more momentum for Georgia.
Exactly. Yeah, Keith, I absolutely agree with you. I was literally thinking the same thing on that play. I like shooting it, right? I was like, Spencer, you can't take that sack. Got to throw it away, and it's easy for us to say. You know, I know for me, I've never played quarterback, but it's just you got to either throw it away, tuck down and run, try to get a yard. Just to, again, like you said, give Mitch a chance to kick a field goal, or give yourself a chance to go for it if you feel like, okay, that might be a little bit out of Mitch's range, which to me, I think he could have made that because, again, I think you said it was like 32, 31-yard line. That's like a 48, 49-yard field goal. We've seen Mitch make a couple of 50-yarders last year, so he could have probably made that. Now, I know in that environment, it's a little different than at Willie B, but I trust that you at least give your guy a chance. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Absolutely. So this week, Gamecocks are facing Mississippi State. They are now a 6.5-point favorite on MyBookie.ag, the official online sports book of Gamecock Pod Live this season. And Chandler, while Aaron Rodgers' season is officially over, our season has just begun at MyBookie.ag. Whether it's NFL, college football, they've got a brand new cash out system that gives you options to bet and win all season long. If the first 2 legs of your parlay hit, maybe you can cash out, use those winnings on another bet, or let it ride at a chance for a bigger payday. Join us at MyBookie.ag for an entire season filled with daily odds boosts, same game parlays, and huge prize pool contests. Right now at MyBookie, they have a no strings attached cash bonus that lets you deposit and withdraw quick. Use the promo code Gamecocks50 on your first deposit of $50 or more, and you can receive up to $200 in cash instantly credited to your MyBookie account. That's promo code Gamecocks50 to claim your cash bonus now. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere, only with MyBookie.ag, the official online sports book of Gamecock Pod Daily. And Chandler, wouldn't we have all loved to have made that in-game bet last Monday night, after Aaron Rodgers goes out with an injury, and bet on the Jets to win that game? Well, I'd be staying in a lot nicer hotel right now. I can promise you that.
I'll tell you, yeah. I'll probably have a new Ralph Lauren polo right now, man, for real, yeah. Like, man, that was crazy.
That was. All right, so moving to Mississippi State now. The line opened at 4. It's now up to 6.5. I think you would agree you're 1-2. You can't afford to let Georgia beat you twice. Okay, so spoiler alert, Keith's keys for victory on Friday will be do not let Georgia beat you twice. Okay.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is not Georgia, but they're coming in hungry because they got their tails kicked by LSU in Starkville on Saturday. I watched some of that. And so to me, it all starts up front on the offensive line. We're seeing a youth movement. You talked about seeing Big Tree, Babalade at the media availability yesterday. Trevon Ball, who's a big road grader.
Yeah.
I thought he should have played more on Saturday, and so did Shane Beamer. And he said it much in the post game. He said it on Sunday. He said it on Tuesday. I mean, look, when you have these highly recruited younger guys that have higher ceilings that are ready, now they're getting their feet wet. It's a lot easier to play at home than it is on the road. I mean, even Nick Gargiulo, right? He's never played in an environment like Sanford Stadium.
Exactly.
You know, too many false start penalties, playing behind the sticks too many times. But for me, I want Trevon, I want Big Tree at left tackle, Gargiulo at left guard, Vershawn Lee at center, Trevon Ball at right guard, and Ja'Kai Moore at right tackle. To me, those are the guys that give you the best chance to win and to be able to start running the football a little bit better and to keep protecting Spencer Rattler, who going into that fourth quarter before he went 3 for 19, he was easily the number one quarterback in the SEC as far as passing percentage goes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I 1,000% agree with you with that starting five. Mainly because the size and the girth, right, of those guys. I mean, everyone that you just named, you know, those are some big dudes. And I think the thing that we question about Tyshawn Wanamaker is, hey, you know, he is smaller. He's experienced, but he's smaller. So you need that girth up there, especially when you're going up against the SEC schools. And then also you mentioned, Sanford Stadium, Nick probably never played in an environment like that. All those guys never played in an environment like that. And if you really think about it, a lot of them didn't do that bad. Like it was a one possession game in the fourth quarter. You had a 14-3 lead against Georgia. If you can play in that environment and succeed in it for as long as you did, okay, nothing else that you're going to see this season is going to compare to that. And I think that needs to be Shane Beamer's message. That needs to be the coaching staff's message. That needs to be the message that the veterans are giving those younger guys. Like, hey, if you handled this, if you weren't wowed or, if you didn't feel like, man, like this is a different level, the moment might be too big for me. If you did not feel like that at Sanford Stadium in Georgia against the top-ranked team in the country, the two-time national champs, on CBS, like the plug there. If you didn't feel like that, then man, this is too big. If you felt right at home, hey, you should be able to go against Mississippi State and do what you need to do. You should be able to go up against any team and do what you need to do because you literally just played the champs and you went toe to toe with them. All the players said it, and in Spencer's words, you should have won the game. Right. And I think a lot of Gamecock fans feel that way too. Like, yeah, you should have won that game. If you would have, did what you did in the first half and the second half, you win that game. If you would have caught a couple of passes, you win that game. If Spencer doesn't take that sack in the third quarter, you may win that game. So I feel good about the Mississippi State game because of everything that I just said. All those guys, they experienced going up against Georgia, and you didn't get whooped, right? You showed up, you did what you needed to do, you came up short, but hey, nothing is going to compare to that environment against that team. That's the best of the best, and you went toe-to-toe with them.
You know what I love about Shane Beamer? That dude is always recruiting. And at halftime on CBS, they asked Shane Beamer about the first half, and he said, hey, we're kicking their butts right now.
Yeah.
He wasn't afraid to say it. Okay, no, dude, that's not why South Carolina lost the game, okay? They had too many dead ball penalties. They didn't make the big plays in the second half they made in the first half. They really missed Juice Wells. Okay, all of that played a role. I love that he said that. You know what else? I love that he was pissed off about it in the post-game press conference. Like, he felt his team should have won that game. You know what? That makes your team feel like they should have won that game and gives them even more confidence. Like, I was at the Auburn game in 2005, Spurrier's first year. They were number 2 in the country, and South Carolina lost a heartbreaker. Jared Cook was a true freshman. Man, he dropped a wide open touchdown down the seam, and the fans were applauding. And Spurrier called him out after the game. No, man, there's no moral victories here.
Yeah.
Shane Beamer doesn't believe in moral victories, but like Spurrier, you see him exuding that confidence in his team, which I think really helps the team play with more confidence. And, man, the defense needs more confidence because the first 2 years, Clayton White, you just were praying you could get to halftime and not be blown out. Okay, we won't talk about the former offensive coordinator. We don't even mention his name. We just call him Captain Dumbass, okay?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
But
he's in Nebraska. Yeah, he's doing his thing.
The first 2 years, if he made it to halftime, great. Second half adjustments, like against Clemson last year. They did virtually nothing in the second half. A lot of teams, you know, granted the Florida game was out of reach, and that's what you got, right? Like teams would get rolling on him. This year it's been the reverse. Like it was 14-3 against Georgia. Okay. It was 17-14 North Carolina. Pete Lembo steals a possession to start that second half. Amarian Brown drops a pass that I think my 10-year-old daughter could have caught that. I know you would have caught it because, bro, you look like you could go out and play right now. That was a very easy catch and run. Who knows? Maybe it's a different game, but instead North Carolina goes right down. You get sacked. You can't keep Rattler upright, and they find – it was like finding Waldo, Keenan Nelson Jr. They just took him to the cleaners on those 2 drives in the third quarter, and it was over. Yes, South Carolina had their chances in the fourth quarter, but they couldn't get it done. They protected better. Tree Babalade, 24/7 Sports National True Freshman of the Week, a PFF grade of 90 in pass blocking.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. They've done a much better job until the second half when Muschamp and Kirby, they were just like, screw it. We're sending the house. Wells isn't out there. We're going to try to take away Leggett with 2 guys. Let's see. You know, and Omega Blake, he made some plays. But they made some plays as well.
Yeah, and then not to cut you off, but then another thing too. I mean, Spencer kind of said it and alluded to it in the post game. Hey, they kind of knew we were going to throw the ball. They knew we weren't having success running the ball, and then at this point, hey, we're down double digits. All we're going to do is throw the ball, and yeah, again, you're going up against the Kirby, Will Muschamp led defense. Yeah, they know that too. I mean, we know that as fans and as people who cover the team, best believe 2 of the best defensive minds in the country know, hey, they're just going to throw the ball. We could send the house, and we'll see what happens. And that's why, like we talked about earlier, getting that run game going is going to be so important for the rest of this season for this team.
No doubt. So Mississippi State, now Zach Arnett, no more air raid. He brought in the offensive coordinator from App State. He's one of those defensive-minded guys. They want to run the ball. They want to run the clock down. They play good defense. They've got a veteran defense. Will Rogers had been the most prolific passer in the SEC the last 2 years when Mike Leach was dialing it up. Now he's been reduced to a game manager, but he's still very accurate with the football. South Carolina's defense, partly because of opponents. No other SEC team has faced 2 top 25 teams in the first 3 weeks of the season. But right now, South Carolina's defense, yards per game allowed, 406. How many teams are in the SEC? 14. Right? South Carolina, 14th. First downs allowed per game, 22, 14th. Gamecocks have a paltry 10 tackles for loss, 14th in the conference. 25.3 points per game, which in this day and age is not awful. But right now, that's 13th in the conference. 145 yards per game rushing allowed, which is 53 yards less than last year. 13th in the conference. Opponent's third down conversion percentage, 45.2%. That's too high. That's 12th in the conference.
Yeah.
Clayton White and the defense, they got to get it turned around starting this week. What do you think are the keys to doing that? Because I think a lot of it's in that front seven.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, definitely a lot of it is in that front seven. I'm hoping one of the things that they did was obviously they played that 4-2-5, and that's been the problem with this defense. Like a lot of those last 2.5 years, really, it's just, hey, sometimes you don't have enough size, right? To be able to stop the run. They've been able to get takeaways. In years past, they've been able to have a little bit more of a pass rush than what they've had. But the reality is, they've struggled against the run. They've ranked near the bottom of the SEC in the last 2 seasons in stopping the run. And we heard all off season that, we know that we're going to address that. But now fast forward to 3 games in, and you touched on the numbers. You're giving up 145 yards per game. And even though it is 53 yards better than last year, you're still near the bottom of the SEC. And I think you also touched on it too, the opponents. I mean, no other team in the SEC has played 2 top 25 teams. One of those teams were the number 1 team in the country, the 2-time national champs, got all these 5 stars, right? It's going to be tough for you to stop them, running the ball. And in the first half you did, but then ultimately they just wore you down. And for me, Keith, I think, got to start up front. They're going to have to incorporate the package of having Boogie, Tonka, TJ, having all 3 of them in. That was very successful for them against Georgia. TJ Sanders ended up having a career high 9 tackles, was the SEC co-defensive lineman of the week, really balled out. So you got to find a way to get him in the game more. Tonka, hey man, you were all SEC player last year. We need to see more of you. And a guy like Boogie, you're a senior now. So we got to see you, be more dominant than what you have been. I'm confident he will be. And then I think Debo and Stone at linebacker, they've played great, but the reality is, and Shane kind of alluded to this yesterday in his presser, hey, they're on the field a lot because of the depth issues. They're on the field a lot. So, ultimately, even though, they're getting these tackles and they're doing all of that, they just wear down. So I think you got to get a guy like Pup Howard in. I think losing Mo Kaba that first game really did hurt them in depth-wise. Because even though, I think that definitely hurt them, not only on the defensive side, but if you remember, Mo got hurt playing special teams. He was going to be a big special teams player for them, too. So, that was a real tough loss, but you still got Pup Howard, and he's another guy. I mean, we're talking about these freshmen, man. I mean, I saw Pup in Walmart back in May, and I was just like, my goodness, without pads, right? It's like, again, my goodness, how are you 18 years old, man? That's just crazy. So you got to find a way to get him on the field more. And then also, Keith, I think the thing that's hurt this defense too is the fact that they have dealt with a lot of injuries. You lost Nicky Manwari the first game. He was out the Furman game, and even though he came back against Georgia and had, I think, 10 tackles, he's still working his way back, right? Since Nick was out, okay, Jalen Kilgore had to step in, and I think he's played pretty well. He played pretty good. DQ Smith has had to move around a lot more too. And I think they're still playing well. So I have confidence in this defense ultimately. I feel like they will be able to turn it around. The problem is, though, you have a problem stopping the run, and you're having a team that's top 5 in the SEC in rushing yards per game coming in. So this is going to be a good test for them. I think if you can stop Mississippi State, that could be a good confidence boost going into the rest of this season for this defense.
Well, so this is not only, Shane Beamer started his coaching career, full-time coaching career at Mississippi State under Sylvester Croom with Ellis Johnson. He speaks fondly of his time in Starkville. That's where he met Emily, his wife.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Stone Blanton was committed to Mississippi State. He's a Mississippi State native to play baseball, right, for 3 years. To me, this ought to be a huge game for him. And
yeah.
I think he's improved, but on Saturday, I thought he took too many bad angles. He was in the wrong gap too many times. And in the first half, he had a clean run on Carson Beck, and man, it was like Maverick in Top Gun. It was like Maverick threw on the brakes and they flew right by. I mean, Beck stepped up and he just flew right past him. And then he hits him after he's in the slide and costs you 15 more yards.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think he had a very good game at all.
Yeah.
He's trying to play better. I think the Mo Kaba injury is crippling, just like losing Jalen Nichols and Kason Henry and Marquis Anderson, who was the one freshman that was in during spring and really looked like he was going to help you this year. Now it's Tree and Tro, who did not come in the summer, but a lot like Dylan Warnham as a true freshman, showed they had the talent to contribute early. I love Jalen Kilgore. My sources told me it was just a matter of when, not if, he would take over one of those safety spots so they could move DQ back to nickel.
Yeah.
And I like that. Now you have the flexibility of David Spalding playing nickel, moving DQ back to safety and rolling those guys a little bit. Mm-hmm. I do think they are high on Keenan Nelson Jr., despite the way he played against North Carolina. Hopefully he's back this week and plays better, because I do think he's better against the run. But for me, the key is up front, you got to generate more pressure. Jordan Strong just doesn't look like the same guy, Chandler.
Yeah.
ACLs, I know he's back. He had a good recovery. He doesn't look like the same guy. Brian Thomas Jr. is playing too many plays at 235 pounds. Okay. Mississippi State's going to line up and run it. I think you got to have maybe Tonka Hemingway and maybe, I don't know, Drew Tuazama. Maybe it's JT Gear. Maybe it's Elijah Davis, who's now an edge, which I thought he, after spring, he looked like a guy that had bad weight. But if he got rid of that, he could slide into that edge spot, which he has. Tyreek Johnson is supposed to be back this week. I mean, I think you have to play a bigger front and more guys up front and really sell out against the run. But on the back end, you got to have your eye discipline, because Will Rogers is capable of beating you through the air.
He is. He most certainly is. And but I think you're absolutely right. You gotta find a way to get a pass rush going. Bringing in Drew Tuazama again. He's a guy that literally just came in August, right? So he's got to learn everything. But he came in against Georgia and did some pretty good things. And kind of you touched on it with Jordan Strong as well. it's probably going to take him 5-6 games, right, to really get back in the flow of things. He had a couple of decent plays against Furman, and he's still bringing a lot of energy, and it's so great to see him back on the field after what he went through last year. But yeah, got to get a pass rush going, because the reality is, get a pass rush going, what does that lead to? It leads to the quarterback maybe second guessing things and then maybe making a mistake. And I have full confidence in the Gamecocks back end. Guys like DQ, Nick, Jalen Kilgore. I have full confidence with Sell, O'Donnell Fortune. I have no issues with that. No issues with the back end. But yeah, like you said, that front four, that the linebackers with Debo and Stone, they gotta do their part. So, I mean, I think I 1,000% agree with you. The play of the front seven, and if they can stop the run, and even maybe not even stop the run, because Mississippi State can still run for 100 yards just with, all the guys that they have, but just make it tough for them. There's a difference between 120 yards of like, okay, they just ran it 30, 40 times versus like they got 120 yards on like 10 carries. Right. Like, there's a big difference in that. So you just got to make life tough for them. And I have full confidence that they will.
All right. So tell us what you think is going to happen Saturday night. I mean, after the showing at Georgia, after the Furman game, which that crowd and the weather totally shocked me, because I expected rain, which was in the forecast. My guys that were at the game, I was at the Houston watch party promoting Carolina Rise, but I mean, it rained everywhere in Columbia except over Williams-Brice Stadium. The weather is supposed to be perfect this weekend for football, maybe a slight chance of rain. I mean, South Carolina can ill afford to start 1-3. They need a Power 5 SEC win going into Knoxville next week, because Tennessee, I was not expecting the Gator beatdown. I know my guy Mike Gillespie was, who's a Gator.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I know.
He's a Gator. He picked it last Friday on the pod. I didn't pick it, but Joe Milton, not the same. Tennessee will obviously is going to play better at home than on the road, but focusing on Saturday night, if you had 2 or 3 things that have to happen for South Carolina to get a win as we close this thing out, what are your keys to South Carolina getting back to 2-2, getting that SEC win, and being much more confident going to Knoxville next weekend for that big Tennessee game to end the month of September?
For sure, yeah. So I'll start on the offensive side of things. I think Spencer obviously has to continue to do what he's been doing, and that's being one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the SEC. That's, not turning the ball over, not making mistakes. And I think, Xavier Legette can have a great game, but you're going to need somebody else in that receiving game in that passing game to step up, whether that's Omarion Brown, if he does come back, whether it's to carry on Juju out the backfield or sliding them in the slot, because they are able to do that. You're going to need someone else, or putting in a Nick Harbor or a Tyshawn Russell. You're going to need someone else in that passing game to step up to be opposite Xavier, or Omega Blake, 5 catches, 89 yards. Even Lewis, right? Eddie Lewis had a really good game against Furman. Find a way to get another guy involved in the passing game, right? So I'll take Spencer out because I know what number 7 is going to bring to the table. So really, it's just on offense, getting someone else involved in the passing game, to be opposite Xavier Legette, and then running game. Just you got to find a way to run the ball. I think if the Gamecocks run for over, I'm not even going to say 100 yards. If they run for over 75 yards against Mississippi State, they're going to win the game. So finding a way to get that going, whether that's putting in a Mario Anderson or a DJ Braswell, or continuing to work to carry on in there and just finding new creative ways to get them the ball running the ball. Maybe it's not between the tackles. Maybe it's doing a little off tackle stuff or doing some jet sweeps, things like that. I think you'll give yourself a good chance to win. And then on the defensive side of things, got to get pass rush going. Number one. All right. You only have less than 5 sacks on the season. So, in 3 games. And again, in SEC big boy football, that's just not going to get it done. You're going to have to get a pass rush going, whether that's a Jordan Strachan or Elijah Davis or Drew Tuazama coming in and doing their thing. TJ Sanders leads the team right now with 2 sacks, right? So you got to find a way to get that going. And then I think the final point on the defensive side of things, I think you just got to stop the run ultimately. You alluded to it, Keith, giving up 145 rushing yards a game. Mississippi State, they're top 5 running the ball in the SEC. You stop them from running the ball, then you make their quarterback throw it, and he has proven that he can do it. But again, I'll put the Gamecocks back end up against any back end in the country with O'Donnell Fortune, Marcellus Dial, Nicky Manwari, DQ Smith, Jalen Kilgore. I'll put those guys up against anybody in the country. But the reality is you don't have a pass rush, good quarterbacks. If you give good quarterbacks a lot of time, we saw it with Drake May in the North Carolina game. You give him time, he's going to find somebody. All right, so you got to get that pass rush going. So definitely pass rush, stopping the run on defense, offense, getting another guy involved outside of Xavier Legette in the passing game, and getting that run game going. Those are my keys.
So the only thing I would add, I absolutely agree with everything, is it'd be nice to force multiple punts in the first half against a Power 5 opponent. North Carolina didn't punt until late in the third quarter. I think Georgia may have had 1 punt in the first half. That was it. 45% on third down. I think that's the big key for me, is on third down, getting off the field, particularly early, because you want that crowd in the ball game. If they can get off the field early on third downs and get that ball back to the offense, Spencer Rattler and company are going to make things happen on a Saturday night in a raucous Williams-Brice Stadium.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. I have full confidence in number 7 and doing that for sure. Just got to give him the football. That's it. I think Shane touched on that in after the Georgia game. It's like, he's doing his part. There's no other quarterback I would want in the country, but we just got to help him out. Like, at the end of the day, you have Johnny Unitas or Peyton Manning, Tom Brady throwing the football for you, but you don't have a great defense to go alongside them. Or in this case with Spencer, a run game, hey, life is a little tougher. So you got to get those things going for sure.
No doubt about it. Well, hey, Chandler, great stuff. Man, what a debut.
Oh, thanks.
On the pod, you knocked it out of the park. Tell us what you got coming up on your local coverage at WLTX.
Yeah. So, we got high school football coming up this Friday. We're still trying to figure out what our game of the week is going to be. But, whenever I find that out, I'll put it out there on social media, on Twitter. You guys follow me at Chandler D. Mack on the, I still say Twitter, guys. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to get used to calling it X now. You can follow me on that. You can also follow me on Facebook. Just type in Chandler Mack /WLTX. You can find me on that. And my Instagram is the same as my Twitter at Chandler D. Mack. But I got high school football Friday night. And then Saturday, we got, obviously going to be at Willie B for the Mississippi State game. And it's going to be some fun stuff for sure. So, Keith, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I've been a big fan of yours for a really, really long time. Man, it's truly an honor, brother. We definitely got to do this again.
Hey, I've been a huge fan of yours. I'm very humbled by your kind remarks. Thank you so much. And we will definitely do this again. And so thanks again. And thanks for all you do covering local sports. And it's not often you're able to get the South Carolina Sportscaster of the Year on live. And so thanks again. Congratulations on that honor. Continued success for you at WLTX 19, the local CBS affiliate there in Columbia. And be well, my friend, and we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Yes, sir. Sounds like a plan, Keith.
All right. That was Chandler Mack from WLTX, the 2023 Sportscaster of the Year. And so that's going to be a wrap. I'm getting ready to put this up on Spotify and link the YouTube link. And then I'm headed for Saltwater Cowboys on Shem Creek. We've got a big Carolina Rise meeting down there tomorrow. We've got another great guest coming up on the pod. And then Friday, Hale McGranahan will join us to preview Mississippi State and our MyBookie.ag game day segment. So until tomorrow, this is Keith Alsep saying God bless and go Gamecocks. I'm headed for Charleston. I'm out of here.